Hi, I'm John Stevenson, and we're going to be looking at the Jephthah narrative in the next two sessions. This is going to take us from Judges chapters 10 and 11. In our study of the book of Judges, we started off with a prologue in two parts. There was the very short Othniel narrative, and then Ehud, who was a social outcast facing oppressors from the east side of the Jordan River, specifically was Moab that Ehud was dealing with. Next we had the Deborah/Barak narrative. A woman slays the enemy with a blow to the head. Then Gideon, that's the pivotal point in the whole series of the book of Judges. Next we have the Abimelech narrative. Again, a woman, this time unknown as to her name, but she kills the enemy of God's people with a blow to the head. And now we come to the Jephthah narrative, where again, just like in Ehud, we have a judge who is a social outcast, different reasons, but he's a social outcast. And again, the enemy, the oppressors, are coming from the east side of the Jordan. Instead of Moab, this time it's going to be Ammon. Finally, next time, after this, we'll see the Samson narrative and then the epilogue, which will come into two parts. So we're moving along through the book of Judges. Judges chapter 10 and verse 1. Now after Abimelech died, Tola, the son of Puah, the son of Dodo, a man of Issachar, arose to save Israel, and he lived in Shamir in the hill country of Israel, and he judged Israel 23 years, and then he died and was buried in Shamir. Sort of very, very quick, very superficial treatment of this Tola. Verse 3, after him Jair the Gileadite arose and judged Israel 22 years, and he had 30 sons who rode on 30 donkeys, and they had 30 cities in the land of Gilead that are called Havoth Jair to this day, and Jair died and was buried in Ammon. Again, not a lot of detail, 30 sons, 30 donkeys, 30 cities. Sounds like there's a lot happening, even though we only have one verse to talk about it. Now, when we reference Gilead, remember Gilead is always on the east side of the Jordan, and we're going to be coming back to Gilead again. We're seeing a lot of action in Gilead, whether there's a lot of press, whether there's a lot of paper that writes about it or not. Gilead was the happening place. Well, verse 6, then the sons of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord, served the Baals and the Ashtaroth, the gods of Aram, the gods of Sidon, the gods of Moab, the gods of the sons of Ammon, and the gods of the Philistines. They're just making the rounds of all the pagan gods, and thus they forsook the Lord and did not serve him. And the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, and he sold them into the hands of the Philistines and into the hands of the sons of Ammon. So now we have the Philistines, but we also have in the east, and that's where our focus is going to be. It's going to be on the east, the sons of Ammon. So the Ammonites and the Philistines. Philistines, of course, we'll read more about when we get to Samson, but for now our focus is going to be on the Ammonites. Verse 8, they afflicted and crushed the sons of Israel that year. For 18 years they afflicted all the sons of Israel who were beyond the Jordan in Gilead in the land of the Amorites. Now let's not confuse the Amorites with the Ammonites. Ammonites are those that are afflicting. The land of the Amorites, that's the land on the east side of the Jordan that had become the possession now of those 2.5 tribes, Reuben, Gad, and half tribe of Manasseh. Verse 9, the sons of Ammon crossed the Jordan to fight also against Judah. So they're not confining this to the east side of the Jordan River. They also crossed to fight against Judah, Benjamin, and the house of Ephraim, so that Israel was greatly distressed. Verse 10, then the sons of Israel cried out to the Lord, saying, we have sinned against you, for indeed we have forsaken our God and served the Baals. Verse 11, the Lord said to the sons of Israel, did I not deliver you from the Egyptians, the Amorites, the sons of Ammon, and the Philistines? We've already been here and done this. Verse 12, also when the Sidonians, the Amalekites, and the Maonites oppressed you, you cried out to me, and I delivered you from their hands, and yet you still turned back away from me. Verse 13, yet you have forsaken me and served other gods, therefore I will no longer deliver you. Go and cry to the gods which you have chosen. Let them deliver you in the time of your distress. You wanted to worship pagan gods. See if those pagan gods are going to deliver you. Verse 15, the sons of Israel said to the Lord, "We have sinned. Do to us whatever seems good to you, only please deliver us this day." And so the Israelites, notice they have turned away from God. Now they're turning back to God, and they're confessing their wrongdoing because they want to be delivered. Verse 16, so they put away the foreign gods from among them and served the Lord, and he could bear the misery of Israel no longer. There's a picture here of the heart of compassion that is seen in God. Verse 17, then the sons of Ammon were summoned, and they camped in Gilead, and the sons of Israel gathered together and camped in Mizpah. So notice again the big actions happening on the east side of the Jordan. And the Ammonites are coming up against the people of Gilead. They're coming up against them. Verse 18, the people, the leaders of Gilead, said to one another, "Who is the man who will begin to fight against the sons of Ammon? We're being attacked. We need a leader. Who is this person going to be? He shall become head over all the inhabitants of Gilead." And so they're offering the leadership to anyone that will lead, that will deliver them from the hands of the Ammonites. This brings us now to chapter 11, verse 1. Enter Jephthah. Now Jephthah the Gileadite, he's from Gilead. Jephthah the Gileadite was a valiant warrior, but, and here's the problem, but he was the son of a harlot. And that's going to make him socially unacceptable to his fellow people. So Gilead was the father of Jephthah, and Gilead's wife bore him sons, and when his wife's sons grew up, they drove Jephthah out and said to him, "You shall not have an inheritance in our father's house, for you are the son of another woman." It's a blended family. The new sons don't want the old son, the illegitimate son, and so they toss him out. Verse 3, so Jephthah fled from his brothers and lived in the land of Tob, and worthless fellows, sons of Belial, I think it's a figure of speech that the Hebrew uses, but we're going to go with the translation. Worthless fellows gathered themselves around Jephthah, and they went out with him. Verse 4, it came about after a while that the sons of Ammon fought against Israel. Now, chapter 10 had told us the story from that vantage point. Chapter 11 has taken us on a bit of an excursus of Jephthah, but now we're back to the fight, Ammon against Gilead, Ammon against Israel. Verse 5, when the sons of Ammon fought against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to get Jephthah from the land of Tob. And they said to Jephthah, "Come and be our chief, that we may fight against the sons of Ammon." Yes, social outcasts, but hey, we need deliverance, and so we'll even turn to this social outcast, this son of a harlot, by the name of Jephthah. Verse 7, then Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "Did you not hate me and drive me from my father's house? Where were you when I was getting driven out? So why have you come to me now when you were in trouble?" Now notice this. What he is saying has been echoed in what God had said earlier, because they have treated God as if God was a social outcast. And now they've treated Jephthah the same way, and he retorts with the same tone of voice that God had retorted. Verse 8, the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "For this reason we have now returned to you, that you may go with us and fight with the sons of Ammon and become head over the inhabitants of Gilead. We'll take you because we need you. Not that we really wanted you, but we need what you can offer." Verse 9, so Jephthah said to the elders of Gilead, "If you take me back to fight against the sons of Ammon, and the Lord gives them up to me, will I become your head?" Verse 10, and the elders of Gilead said to Jephthah, "The Lord is witness between us." Of course, they hadn't been obeying the Lord, but the Lord is witness between us. Surely we will do as you have said. So in chapter 10, we had the anger of the Lord burning against Israel. Remember, he sold them into the hands of the Philistines, into the hands of the sons of Ammon. Now in chapter 11, it has come about that after a while, the sons of Ammon are fighting against Israel. Back in chapter 10, we had read that the sons of Israel cried out to the Lord, we've sinned against you, we've forsaken our God, served the Baals. Now in chapter 11, they have echoed the same thing to Jephthah. Yes, we sinned against you, but come and be our chief, that we may fight against the sons of Ammon. In chapter 10, their call, God had said, you've forsaken me and served other gods, therefore I'm no longer to deliver you. Go cry to the gods that you've chosen, let them deliver you. Now in chapter 11, Jephthah has responded with very much the same language. Hey, didn't you hate me and drive me from my father's house? Why are you coming now when you're in trouble? That's what God had said. That's what Jephthah is saying as well. In chapter 10, verse 15, the sons of Israel had said to the Lord, we've sinned, do to us whatever seems good to you, only please deliver us. They say, not word for word, but it's very much the same thing. The Lord is witness between us, surely we will do, as you said, only save us. In chapter 10, so they put away the foreign gods from among them and served the Lord, and he could bear the misery of Israel no longer. Now in chapter 11, Jephthah goes with the elders of Gilead, and the people make him head and chief over them, and he speaks all these words before the Lord at Mizpah. And so, as they've returned to the Lord, they also turn now to Jephthah, who becomes the hand of the Lord to deliver them. Verse 12, now Jephthah sent messengers to the king of the sons of Ammon. They've been invading, they've been fighting, but now he sends messengers, and he's actually suing for peace, but it's not peace at any price, it's peace. He offers peace. What is it between you and me that you come to me to fight against my land? Notice he's the leader, so he's calling it my land now. And in verse 13, the king of the sons of Ammon, the Ammonites, say to the messengers of Jephthah, because Israel took away my land when they came up from Egypt, from the Arnon as far as the Jabbok and the Jordan, therefore return them peaceably now. That land which Israel has been holding on the east side of the Jordan River, Ammon is saying, that was our land. That was our land. Verse 14, but Jephthah sent messengers again to the king of the sons of Ammon, saying, and they said to him, thus says Jephthah, Israel didn't take away the land of Moab or the land of the sons of Ammon. We didn't come and take your land. We got there, and you didn't have that land. Somebody else had that land. We didn't take it from you. We took it from somebody else. We took it from the Amorites. No, remember, the Ammonites and the Amorites are two different people. So verse 16, when they came up from Egypt, and Israel went through the wilderness to the Red Sea and came to Kadesh, then Israel sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, please let us pass through your land. King of Edom didn't want to listen, and so they also sent to the king of Moab, but he wouldn't consent, and so Israel remained at Kadesh. That had been way back when they were still in the wilderness. Verse 18, then they went through the wilderness and around the land of Edom. They circumnavigated Edom, and they also circumnavigated the land of Moab, and they came to the east side of the land of Moab, and they camped beyond the Arnon, but they did not enter the territory of Moab, because the Arnon was the border of Moab. They didn't cross the Arnon. They circumnavigated Moab. Verse 19, and Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites. That's who they ultimately did fight. The king of Heshbon, and Israel said to him, please let us pass through your land to our place. But Sihon did not trust Israel to pass through his territory, and so Sihon gathered all his people and camped in Jahaz and fought with Israel. In other words, they attacked us. Verse 21, the Lord, the God of Israel, gave Sihon and all his people into the hand of Israel, and they defeated them. So Israel possessed all the land of the Amorites, the inhabitants of that country. We didn't take it from you. We took the land from the Amorites, who had attacked us first. We were just passing through, and yet they attacked us. Verse 22, so they possessed all the territory of the Amorites, from the Arnon as far as the Jabbok, and from the wilderness as far as the Jordan. Verse 23, since now the Lord, the God of Israel, drove out the Amorites from before his people, are you then to possess it? In other words, God drove them out and gave it to us. He didn't give it to you. Why would you possibly get it? Verse 23, since now the Lord, the God of Israel, drove out the Amorites before his people, are you then, he asks, to possess it? These were, we drove out Sihon and the Amorites, we drove out Og and Bashan. They weren't your territory. They hadn't been from the time that we got there up to the present. Verse 24, do you not possess what Chemosh, your God, gives you to possess? So whatever the Lord, remember that's Yahweh when you see it in all caps like that, whatever Yahweh our God has driven out before us, we will possess it. Now, are you any better than Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab? Did he ever strive with Israel, or did he ever fight against them? We bypassed them, we bypassed you. That didn't mean either he or you can come and take what God has given us. Verse 26, while Israel lived in Heshbon and its villages, and in Aroer and in its villages, and all the cities that are on the banks of the Arnon, 300 years we've been there. Why didn't you not recover them within that time? In other words, this is the first time you're making mention of this. You're saying, we want our property back. Well, that was more than 300 years ago, because we've been there 300 years, and we didn't take it from you. We took it from somebody else who had it before you. Verse 27, I therefore have not sinned against you, but you're doing me wrong by making war against me. So, may the Lord, may God judge today between the sons of Israel and the sons of Ammon. Now verse 28, but the king of the sons of Ammon discarded the message which Jephthah sent him. So messages have gone back and forth, and there continues to be a disagreement. So now that disagreement is going to take physical form. Verse 29, now the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah, so that he passed through Gilead and Manasseh, and then he passed through Mizpah of Gilead, and from Mizpah of Gilead he went on to the sons of Ammon. So he's moving south against the Ammonites. Verse 30, Jephthah made a vow to the Lord, and said, if you will indeed give the sons of Ammon into my hand, then it shall be that whatever comes out of the doors of my house to meet me when I return in peace from the sons of Ammon, it shall be the Lord's, and I will offer it up as a burnt offering. Now this sounds good, but what's going to be coming out of the doors of the house? Jephthah doesn't know. He's making this promise without understanding the ramifications of it. Now, I don't know what he was thinking. Did he have a dog that he really didn't like that always used to run out the door of the house? I don't know. Or maybe he's just making this just sort of a blanket promise, a vow to God, but not realizing what it will entail. Verse 32, so Jephthah crossed over to the sons of Ammon to fight against them, and the Lord gave them into his hands. That's verse 32. And we go on to read, he struck them with a very great slaughter from Aroer to the entrance of Meneth, 20 cities as far as Abel Keramamim. So the sons of Ammon were subdued before the sons of Israel. Jephthah wins his victory against the Ammonites. Verse 34, here's his homecoming. Remember the vow? Verse 34, when Jephthah came to his house at Mizpah, behold, his daughter was coming out to meet him with tambourines and with dancing. Now she was his one and only child. Beside her, he had no son or daughter. This is sort of the apple of his eye. Verse 35, when he saw her, he tore his clothes and said, alas, my daughter, you have brought me very low, and you are among those who trouble me, for I have given my word to the Lord, and I cannot take it back. He had promised to God, whatever comes out of the door of the house, I will give to you. I will sacrifice to you. Verse 36, so she said to him, my father, you have given your word to the Lord. Do to me. Now remember what the Israelites had said to God, and the Israelites had said to Jephthah, do with us as you will, just save us. She says the same thing. She echoes the same words to her father. Do to me as you have said, since the Lord has avenged you of your enemies, the sons of Ammon. Verse 37, she said to her father, let this thing be done for me. Let me alone 2 months, that I may go to the mountains and weep because of my virginity, I and my companions. And then he said, "Go," and he sent her away for 2 months, and she left with her companions and wept on the mountains because of her virginity. Verse 39, at the end of 2 months, she returned to her father, who did to her according to the vow which he had made. Now, we're not told specifically what that was, but it sounds like, and this is just the natural reading of it, it sounds like he took her and he sacrificed her on the altar, putting her to death. Now, that is so grievous that there are some scholars who say that couldn't be what is meant. Certainly, maybe it just means he dedicated to the Lord, and she became like a priestess, and she would not be married. And they try to, I think they're trying to water it down and make it a bit more palatable to us. But that's not what the book of Judges says. He did to her according to the vow which he had made. And she had no relations with the man, and thus it became a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel went yearly to commemorate the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite 4 days in the year. What happens here becomes part of a continuing memorial. That does not sound like, no, she just died an old maid. It sounds like something more. It's not justifying it. It's not saying it was a good thing. It's just saying it was a thing. Because, remember, the book of Judges is just telling us what took place. Whether it was good, whether it was bad, whether it was indifferent, it's just telling us the story. Now, Jephthah's daughter then, she gives herself for her father's honor. We don't really get that because we're not an honor and shame culture. But people in that day would have gotten it. That she does this for her father's honor. She is part of the seed of the woman theme that we have seen so far in the book of Judges. We had Deborah, we had Jael, we had the unnamed woman throwing the millstone and killing Abimelech, and now we have the daughter of Jephthah, all contributing to the ultimate victory of God's people. But also she becomes a deliverer of the people by giving herself as a sacrifice. And when we read about that, it reminds us of another seed of the woman who gave himself as a sacrifice for us, that we might live, that we might receive the victory from God, that we who had turned against God, who turned away from God, might be restored through his compassion, that we might be delivered. And so Jephthah's daughter has a greater follower, one who comes much later, and that's the person of Jesus, who died on our behalf, who became our deliverer, who became the seed of the woman, who gave himself, can I say it this way, for the Father's honor.